Evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to D-Backs Dispatch. I'm pretty sure this is the quickest we've ever gone live after a series. Because we don't have a choice. Next game is tomorrow, so we gotta discuss this amazing recap. So this is your first time. Thanks for tuning in here to D-Backs Dispatch. If you're watching us on YouTube. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. If you're listening to us on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure to give us a follow and a subscribe there as well. Leave any sort of rating as well. What you guys think of the podcast? Any help there is appreciated. And if you're checking us out on Twitter, thank you very much. You guys have been amazing the last couple of days with all of the engagement. It's been very fun to see that everyone is having a very fun time. One pitch. We were one pitch away from a series sweep against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And hindsight, looking back on it, like it's a sweep. Like it's very bummer to see. So just want to give a shout out to AZ Bubba, one of our frequent commenters here on YouTube and likes a majority of our stuff.
And make some fire-ass edits too.
He does. If you need some graphic work done, go ahead and hit him up. Man knows what he's doing. So just want to give him a little shout out there. But let's just go ahead and talk game one. There was a lot of news before the game even started on Tuesday. So we had a flurry of roster moves. One of them I saw coming because I knew it made the most sense, and that's Blaze going back down to Reno because he needs consistent at-bats. For everyone that was going after Blaze because he didn't hit well offensively when given a chance, you guys don't realize how difficult that is when you play once a week. For a young player like that, especially when he's going to be learning a new position in third base, he needs to get consistent playing time defensively there and hitting. So, would I have enjoyed them just cutting Gino altogether? Yes, because he plays, if you would say maybe average or even subpar defense, regardless of what the broadcast states, regardless of what Steve Berthium says, he does not play stellar defense. He does not. Monty had a inflammation injury, and that's just me saying that because it just felt like too convenient. That like, oh, Monty got hurt, so we don't have to make as many roster moves. But they said it was during his bullpen session over the weekend, so I'm like, inflammation, like, to me, that's just like, yeah, he's hurt, but like, if this was a thing in September and October, he'd be playing. So, but we did, and we all knew Gabby was coming back for sure because with the Tucker Barnhart injury designated for assignment news, we was like, all right, Gabby's coming back. We got our young king back, ladies and gentlemen. Alec Thomas was back on the roster, so very excited. All of this was before we even started playing on Tuesday. So there was a lot of news to catch up. So just real quick, Gabe, were you surprised by these moves or were you kind of expecting most of them?
Yeah, I kind of just expected most of them because the only one, it's kind of what I expected anyways. Like, Blaze has options left. Gino doesn't. The only way Gino to be sent down to Reno is if he agrees to get sent down to Reno. And he hasn't been in the minor leagues since 10, 11 years now. Like, that's a guy who doesn't want to go down. But it's kind of everything that I expected. The Jamont news had me a little worried until I saw his right knee inflammation. Like, it is his landing leg. But it's one of those things where it's like, if the league asks them to prove it, it's kind of difficult to prove, but it's also like, they would have said something else, like a strain or something, they probably would have had to be out a lot longer. But 10 days, give him time to work things through. Probably just give him maybe one start before the All-Star break. Just give him time to actually, get back to form, get back in shape to where he should be, especially once we come out of the All-Star break.
Yeah. So yeah, like they're gonna try as long as they can to have Gino on this roster. I I just don't think it's gonna work out. The man just isn't. He's just not producing at an efficient rate. But Brett, your thoughts on all the flurry of moves? Muted, sir.
Thank you very much. Just trying to make sure I don't have the fireworks in the background. Because again, happy
Okay.
4th of July to everybody that's tuning in, as most of you guys are probably know listening live. And there's a lot of fireworks going off. But yeah, kind of just agreeing with Gabe. I'm not too surprised with Blaze being sent down entirely because he does have roster moves, or he does have options available to use. Where like you said, Gino doesn't. Like you're not gonna like really release Newman. Like Newman could go down, but there's no reason, like he's earned his spot up here. So I'm not too surprised by it. I just hope that Blaze can use this as an opportunity to work a little bit more on his defensive ability. We already knew that he was pretty good coming into it, or coming into spring. So maybe the issues that he had was all mental, so we can get that out of the way. So once it comes back up either later this year or next year, we don't have to worry about him defensively anymore. The Jordan Montgomery one, same. I saw he was going on the IL, and I immediately assumed he was going on there for like an arm injury. And then once I saw it was the right knee and inflammation, I was like, yeah, I don't want to assume it's a phantom IL, but that's just kind of like Gabe said. That's one of those where it's really hard to prove you have right knee inflammation unless like, oh, you need to show us an MRI. It's like, okay, like let's say the MRI doesn't fully show it, but the player's like, hey, I got some like discomfort in my knee. Like, I don't want to like make it worse. Like the league can't question it. So that one I'm assuming is just a, try to get him right, especially if he were to face this Dodgers lineup. Who knows how bad it would have gotten because he is not faced well against teams that just crush lefties. But, just having Gabrielle back and especially the young King, those are just two players that you really kind of like, even with Perdomo, you don't really know what you have until you don't have it. And now that we have them back, we're already kind of starting to see them slowly, mold into what the team that we saw last year was, what the team that we saw even in a very small sample size, the beginning of this year was, before we lost Alec Perdomo. And, even Gabby has had his, time on and off here, but having them two back and all that, I think it was the bigger positive on the roster moves, and the one where I was kind of like, okay, the Blaze one, not surprising. The Monty one, hoping you can just figure it out. But I was, again, you might be surprised. I was way more optimistic when I saw that tweet about the roster moves instead of just going immediately to, oh my God, it's of course we have injury issues.
Half full. It's progress with you.
I know, right? Exactly.
It's progress here with Brett. But let's just go ahead and dive into game number 1. This game was like, we lost this game, but to me, it felt like a win because they didn't lie down. They didn't lie down and just like give up, which is what they had been doing so much this season. Like this whole stat of them being 1-38 before this game, being down by 2+ runs. And I really thought this was going to break it. They do end up blowing it here late, so they're now 1-39. But for me, the big takeaway from this game is the fact that offense didn't give up. Offense kept fighting the entire game, which is what I want to see. I'm like, it's fine to lose. I want you to be competitive. That's the one thing that there's been so many games where like, oh, they're down by 2. It's the 4th. It's pretty much done. So, and it's just tough to see. But the big overarching story, and we're going to go into it on every game, is this man, Christian freaking Walker. This might have been the best series anyone's ever had in D-backs history. This man torched. His stats coming into playing at Dodger Stadium were impressive, but what he did in this series was crazy. So as we see here, he hit that 2-run homer because we were down 2-0 at that point, and that home run really, I think, gave some life into this offense. Like, okay, so we're back in it here. Basically, we're all starting at 0 because we're tied here going forward. But we are all too familiar with the team's record when they go down by 2+ runs. While this loss was still disappointing, we did see signs of what we had last year, which is what the Answerbacks potentially could be back. Again, they still struggle with runners in scoring position, and that's always going to be a thing. They were 1 for 8 in this game. But Gabe, what were your thoughts on just the offense in general, just fighting back in this game?
I really appreciated what they did. Like, there is no moral victories. Like, this should have been a win. What I've been saying well, here's the thing. First of all, the most disappointing aspect of this game was when they had bases loaded, no outs, and they got no runs across. Like, they had a chance to put Gavin Stone away. They did it because they just couldn't take advantage of that. But that being said, throughout the season, I've been saying get at least 5 runs. You're going to win a lot of games, maybe even 2/3 of your games if you're able to get at least 5 runs. But which is what the offense did. They were able to get 5 runs. Unfortunately, both Jamar and Seawald weren't able to get the job done. I mean, they allowed 4 runs together combined in 2 innings. They did not do their job right. They didn't, do what they were there to do. Like, there are 2 guys, in the bullpen who have the nastiest stuff. They didn't get the job done, and that's kind of where we're at. I mean, they got walked off. It's very frustrating to watch. Like, it was what we were like. Brandon said, we were 1 pitch away from this being a sweep. The D-backs could have been game over 500. Could have been 6 games behind the Dodgers, and unfortunately, this just did not go their way. It was very frustrating to watch, and it just felt like, well, here we go again. Like, that stat is just like it's strange kryptonite. As soon as they go down by 2, it seems like no matter what they do, they lose the games. It's like it didn't go down by 2 in the first inning. They can score 10 runs. In the 8th, it's 10-2, and somehow it all falls apart. And it's just like, how does this happen? Like, how do they keep losing? It's like impossible for this to keep happening, but it still does, and it's just frustrating. But overall, I thought the offense has looked a lot better. I mean, it's like the Dodgers pitchers have been all that great-ish. Actually, I mean, their ERAs were pretty decent, but they allowed a lot of runs in the series. It's not like we can say the D-backs didn't allow a lot of runs either, but the D-backs starting staff, I believe, went 7.5 innings or something like that combined. The starting staff, like, we did not do much better either, but yeah. So I thought they looked a lot better. Alec and Perdomo, like we said earlier, they're not going to fix all the issues with this offense because they're not sluggers, they're not great hitters, but they take a lot of pitches, and we saw that today and yesterday, and even that in the game on Tuesday. They take a lot of pitches, and then it gives a chance for the guys on deck and in the hole to see what the pitcher has. So then by the time they get to them, the dude has thrown 20 pitches, and he's maybe a little wild. He's maybe getting a little tired, and they took advantage of it. Unfortunately, this game didn't end our way.
Yeah, it was a definite bummer. But one thing I do want to point out, technically, as Gabe said, our starters didn't go very long. This game is kind of like you can put an asterisk next to this one. This was an opener. We had Joe Mantiply, Ryan Nelson went 5 innings, 6 hits, only gave up 1 run. So that's really who the starter was, because they don't want him to fit, because the top of that lineup is very lefty heavy. They're like, let's go ahead and use Joe to get those first couple. I I don't understand why Tor just did let him finish the first. Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm like, Joe can get those outs because he brought in Ryan, and then Ryan gives up that big time hit to Hernandez. So we're right behind it again. But Brett, what were your thoughts just on how offense looked and was able to bounce back in this game?
I mean, kind of like Gabe, I feel like this. We're just that's why we're on the same page all the time. Is we all kind of have the same brain. You don't really have too many moral victories in this. I mean, especially if you asked me after that night, you guys on the group chat, I was like, dude, like this cannot be what this team does if we want to be actually serious about contending going into the All-Star break and actually having somewhat of a hope to riding the ship. But the fact that they were able to fight back multiple times, like you mentioned earlier, the Jack Summers tweet of them going into this game, I believe 1-38 when they are down by 2 runs or more at any point in the game. And the Walker home run in the 4th to tie it was really clutch. Took the lead in the 7th. So even that, the fact that they scored 1 run in each of the 7th, 8th, and 9th, that's been a big issue for them this year. We've talked about that before, where they can score a lot in the first. They're one of the best offenses when it comes to scoring in the first, but they just kind of, that's why we call them the lay down Diamondbacks. They just never would show up late in the game. Where this game alone, 7th inning, go ahead to make it 3-2. Justin Martinez gets touched up by, probably the greatest player any of us will ever see in Shohei Ohtani. They tied up immediately on some small ball with a beautiful bunt by Jake that the pitcher couldn't handle. And then in the 9th, even Jock Peterson with his, the Boo Birds were out letting him know.
This spectacular play right here.
Exactly.
Gabby scoring from first on a sac bunt. Like, to me, there are not a lot of catchers that score from first on something like that.
Exactly. So things like that make me
2 Adley Rushman and probably JT Realmuto, who are 2 phenomenal catchers.
Exactly. So there's not many that, like, again, it wasn't like just a Jake play. Like that was the kind of like, the D-backs creating chaos. It's not one guy, it's an entire team. So it was definitely really encouraging seeing some of the things that we saw from them. Obviously, they did lose, and it's not fully on Paul. Like even Gabe said, you had the bases loaded with no outs in the 2nd inning after Walker hit that 2-run home run to tie it, and you couldn't get a single run across. Like, you can't fully blame the closer. Like, yes, it is still a job. He still has some blame to have for it, but you can't really, put it all on him. But it was again really encouraging seeing them multiple times. Like that Ohtani home run, I was expecting to see, oh my God, what is it going to be, a 7-2, 7-3 Dodgers, win after this now? But no, like they answered back. They showed the signs that we saw from them last year, whether that's because Alec is back or whether just, a divisional game, you kind of step up your game a little bit. But I don't know. There's definitely more positives in this game looking back on it than I think, like even you in the group chat, Brandon, when I was, glass half empty that night, you were mentioning, you're like, hey, there's a lot of positives. There's a lot of good things to take away from this game. And you're fully correct. Like, you always want to win. Brandon, you're muted, by the way. You always want to win, but you can't always, like, you're not going to be the 2001 Mariners who won 117 games. Like, even they lost in the playoffs. Like, you're not going to be a dominant team like that throughout the entire year. So you got to try to look for some kind of moral victories here and there when you can. And there are definitely a lot of good ones there in that game. And again, still wish we would have won, but I'm trying to be more glass half full. And there was definitely a lot of things that made me want to lean towards the glass half full side.
Yeah. This play, however, was not. Justin Martinez against Shohei Ohtani. Inside fastball, and I swear that ball was in the air for like 10 seconds. Like
did you guys see? He actually he destroyed a child in the stands. There's a video on social media.
Correct.
A little probably 10-year-old kid. The ball again, I think like 110, 460 off the bat, just straight up to the dome.
Yeah.
Bring it up, man.
So Shohei's killing little kids. Got it. But like we said, the way this team responded, next half inning, what does Jock do in his former stadium? Goes yard. Like, the way he is able to keep his get his hands in on inside pitches and his bat speed on these, I'm always impressed. I'm like, how is he able to hit some of these? I am always impressed. Like, I got pumped when I saw this. I'm like, oh yes, we're gonna win again. Another series opening win. Got all excited, and then we had the craziness that is the ninth inning. So runner on second, Paul Sewell comes in, and a lot of people like Tuesday night and Wednesday were really questioning, did Torrey make the right move? Everyone was bringing up Sewald versus Corey Seager in the World Series. Like that decision's on Torrey for not pitching around. Y'all, Corey Seager is no bum, y'all. Corey Seager is a fantastic all-star. And it wasn't a bad pitch, just like this one to Freddie Freeman was not a bad pitch. It was technically a ball. But Freddie Freeman is one of those guys, he somehow gets his bat on the ball. Now, I can understand people saying that they should have pitched around him for sure, because first base was open and how good Freddie Freeman is with 2 outs. I can understand why people think they should have pitched around, but I don't blame Torrey for that. Like, had they like pitched to him and they were all like just hittable pitches, yeah, I get it. This was not one of them. And then next batter, Teoscar Hernandez comes up, a little ground ball through the left side. Gurriel makes a good throw on it, just a little bit offline. I think if it's at the plate, I think it's bang bang, and there could have been extra innings. So that was definitely a bummer. And a lot of people were like, oh, D-backs bullpen blowing it again. Tell me you don't watch this team without saying, I don't watch this team. Coming into this game, Paul Sewald, 18 games, 5 hits, 1 double, 1 homer, 3 walks, 15 Ks. That's a slash of 093, 169, 167. It's a 336 OPS. He had been perfect in all save opportunities coming up to this point. So do not lump this outing with these anytime Miguel Castro pitches. Outings. Sorry. I had to because that news came out today. And it's funny because who he may be coming
He's coming back against the Braves, and I just
Right?
have
I'm like,
flashbacks. It's like,
Torrey,
no,
whatever you do not pitch him in high leverage situations. Do not. If you want to pitch him in low and medium, I'm fine with that. Because if he brings him in a high leverage, we all know what's going to happen. Yes, Sewald did blow the save, and it sucked because looking at the next 2 games, we could have had a sweep. Do you think it's more of people are just so accustomed to the bullpen blowing things, and it's just kind of a knee-jerk reaction to what people do when things just don't go that way? Or do you think that it is valid criticism about how they approach Freddie Freeman? I'll go to you first, Gabe.
I think they probably should give him the Christian Walker treatment and just walk him because it's Freddie Freeman. They had 2 outs, that the base empty. They should have walked him. I feel, like I said, Freddie Freeman's a personal hitter. He's going to end up in the Hall of Fame. Like, I trust him to get a double there, which he always does. He either gets a double down the gap or it goes the opposite way. And with Will Smith, there on second, it's like, even if Teoscar Hernandez comes up and gets that same single, Will Smith is a lot slower than Freddie Freeman. So maybe they would have had a better chance at getting him out rather than Freddie. It's a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda. We've seen the Dodger fans begging Dave Roberts to walk Christian Walker, but I mean, sometimes the analytics say don't do it, like don't give up a free automatic base. But sometimes you have to do it. I mean, he's a lefty, Sewald's a righty. Not the greatest matchup in this case, and like you said, it wasn't a bad pitch. It was a little bit outside, But then Teoscar comes up, gives them ball straight down the middle. But Teoscar also coming into this game had like a 750 OPS on the season. Like it's not like he's the greatest hitter on this team either. He's not an Otani, he's not a Mookie, he's not a Freddie Freeman. He's a guy you can get out. So after him, it's just a lot of 600 OPS guys. So I really questioned his decision to not walk Freddie in this situation. Can't take it back. Seawald should have done his job. J Mart should have done his job. They made this game a lot closer than it should have been. And yeah, I think there's a lot of blame to go around. The offense, not being better with runners score position, the bullpen not shutting this team down, and then maybe Torrey for not walking a guy when he probably should have.
Yeah, like it's not the worst. Like hindsight, like yeah, he probably should have at least pitched around him. Maybe not like an intentional walk, but pitch around and see what happens there. But Brett, where do you stand? Like, do you think this is all on Seawald? Is this on Torrey, or is this Dodgers are a professional baseball team too? They get paid millions of dollars to succeed in situations like this. And what would you have done? Would you have walked Freddie to get to Hernandez?
So, I mean, I probably would have definitely walked Freddie. I mean, again, in hindsight's 2020, but it's also Teoscar this season alone has been really like. That's where when I saw that on the game day app, I was like, dude, you kind of half a dozen one, six in the other. You can't really fully win in the situation. Teoscar is definitely not Freddie. But this season, Teoscar has been pretty clutch when it comes to home runs, walk-offs, all that. And I don't fully blame them. Like, Seawald's not fully blameless, but as we talked about earlier, the offense went 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. This game, kind of like we'll get to in Game 3, it went into the ninth or went into the bottom of the ninth, potentially, a save situation, but the offense actually did their job in the top of the ninth, made sure that was not the case. Game 1, they did not even do that in the fourth. Any of the other innings, they let it get away. Paul's not blameless, but I think it's one of those where you still kind of want to go, hey, Paul, he's still a dog. You don't want to fully show your weakness and go, oh, we're just going to let Freddie go. Because especially, dude, if Teoscar hits that home run, then immediately people are going to be like, why did you pitch to Teoscar? Why didn't you just try to go after Freddie? You can't win in the situation no matter what you do. So I don't think Paul is completely blameless. I just don't think that this is entirely on him. It was just one of those things where we've said before this year, he gets away with just throwing shit down the middle the entire time because whatever arm slot and action that comes out of the ball out of his hand is just really effective. Will Smith read the fastball well. Freddie Freeman got just a good swing on an outside sinker, and then even the Teoscar walk-off that I promise you, he just got lucky. Well, not lucky. He got a good swing, rolled it over in the exact position, slow enough to where Freddie had enough time to come around. It's unfortunate, but again, it's the losing on a walk-off 1 run to the Dodgers. It stings. I'd take that over being pummeled like 12-1. So.
Yeah, so end up losing Game 1. So let's go ahead and move on to Game number 2. We got some fantastic news before the game. Ketel Marte is the starting second baseman for the National League in the All-Star game. I'm so glad. Like, a lot of people's like, oh, they're probably going to get Luis Arraez is probably going to get it at the last moment. But I'm like, I'm pretty sure the last update on Monday was he was up by 10 percentage points. That's really hard to make up in one day. Really hard. So I was like, I feel pretty good that he's going to get in. So it's good that he is back in. We also got the news today. Torrey says he will be leading off for the National League. So that got me really excited. The pitching in this game for Game 2, after rough first inning. I'll say that it was a rough first inning for Christian Mena. Dodgers score four in the first. They don't score again the rest of the game. Everybody stepped up and did their job. Christian Walker just continues to go on his tear. Like he's had, so including this game, 8 games against the Dodgers, he has 7 home runs. Like that is mind-boggling. This team scored 10 runs with 2 outs in this game. Like that blows my mind. Like offense stepped up so big. So hitters 4 through 9 went 14 of 29, which is basically 500. It's crazy. 12 runs driven in, 3 walks, and 1 K. Offense showed out amazingly in this game. And I think it's a lot to do with Alec and Ndomo. Like they are top of the lineup type hitters in the bottom of your lineup. So you have those guys that, okay, I'll take a walk. Like I would have to go ahead and research, but I wouldn't be surprised if Domo's average pitches per at bats like 4 or 5. At least. Because there are so many where he'll just keep fouling off. Gabe, how confident are you that this team can turn things around between now and the All-Star break? And give Hazen the confidence to be a buyer? Maybe not like a full-on buyer, like we're at the top of the wild card or close to the division, but
we're not going to be trading for Garrett Crochet. We're not going to be those buyers.
Yes, no, but we did post it. Luis Rengifo, I'm interested in. I wouldn't mind seeing what that would cost. Tommy Henry and Pavin Smith, sure. Would be completely fine with me. But did your confidence in this team change a little bit during this game, seeing offense really come to play?
Yeah, it did for me. Throughout the season, like for me, it's always been just be at around 500 come the trade deadline, because at that point you still have 2 months to play. If you're at 500, you obviously gotta play a lot better than you have been playing up until that point. But we know the injuries that this team has had. We've had 2 pitchers at 2 stable starting pitchers at a time throughout the season, and those pitchers, other than Brandon Pfaadt, have been rotating. It's just one of those things where I do have a lot of confidence in this team when it's fully healthy. I know Gino was a little bit of a catalyst in this game. He didn't do anything today. I still want to address the third base situation. I still think they should look into getting Vlad Jr., who I know people say, he can't play a great third base, but it's not like Gino's that great at third base either. And I'd rather have a guy who's almost hitting 300 with an 850 OPS right now over a guy with barely at 200 with the 600 OPS, even if it costs us a little bit of defense. And honestly, I think with our training staff, I think he can become a lot better at defense at third base if needed. Either way, I want his bat. And I think this team, like imagine this team with Vlad Jr. in like the 5-hole or 6-hole. Like they're going to win so many games in August and September if they're able to get him. But I think, like I said, it was completely dependent on how this next series are going, because there's 12 games against very good teams. And if they would have gotten swept by the Dodgers, I think at that point, Hazen would probably be fielding a lot more calls than he is right now. I think right now he's going to stand pat, see what they need, see what they're doing, see any injuries that might flare up, see who needs to go, who needs to stay, because if this had gone the other way, I can see them fielding calls for Walker and Seawald and Jock. Like we have quite a few guys, I think this team could get rid of and could get a really, really nice return for all these guys. I would hate to see it happen, but as of right now, I think they should be buyers and could be buyers.
I mean, the way Walker played in this series, I wouldn't be surprised if someone called Mike Hazen today. It's like, what do you want? And he's probably like, no, because we are right there. So I don't want them to trade Walker, but I know they could get a lot for Christian Walker, like right now. Like they could really probably address a lot of these issues. So in terms of defensive metrics, Eugenio Suarez is at a 0, outs above average. Guerrero's at -6, but Guerrero has 13 home runs and is batting 296 with an OPS of 840. I will take that -6. I really would.
It's also at
With
first
that,
base. It's not third.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if baseball savant, like, yeah. Actually, you could probably do splits graphic, but
I think it was like I think he was like minus 18 defensive runs saved, but I think it was for his career. Not great, but still, like I said, I'll take those 30 home runs right now.
yeah. So, Brett. So your thoughts on just how a majority of this lineup looked in this game? Like everyone seemed to come to play today with 14 of 29 runners in scoring position, 5 of 17. Like that's really like, I mean, if we do anything, it's progress.
Yeah, say it's definitely the fact that the bottom of your, I mean, not even fully the bottom half, because again, hitters 4 through 9, that's counting in Christian Walker, your cleanup. So your cleanup through the bottom half of your order, still a good chunk, 2/3. But if they can continue producing like this, not even again, you're not going to have a game where they go 14 for 29 every game. But if they can just be somewhat, again, I feel like if it was a episode of, or like some like, children's show for the 2024 Diamondbacks, to be like, what's the word of the year? Consistency. Yay, let's say it together. Consistency. Because it's just we can never have it. So if we can get that from the bottom half of the lineup, and especially over these next few weeks, it makes me pretty confident and pretty, I would say like positive to the fact that they could, lean in the direction of being more buyers, not full on. I don't fully, I would love Vlad Jr. I just don't see that being a trade that Mike Hazen ever makes. Just whether that's he's going to be a name that other teams are going to want with how he's hitting, and I don't want us to give up some big prospect, especially if we were, let's say we go on like a 10-game winning streak, you can get me on that ship right there. I'll be on the full on, get Vladdy boat. But if we're still kind of like a game over or a game under 500 when it comes to the actual trade deadline, I personally don't want to make a trade for Vladdy Jr. just because I don't want to see what prospects we give up for a rental. And then
months,
to see
yeah.
what they do, especially in Toronto, because that'll counteract the Dalton Varsho trade, and I don't need that to happen.
You don't
But
need that in your life.
I think it would be pretty nice to see again, not even just the bottom half of the lineup, just the entire lineup in itself stay consistent, and give Hazen enough signs to, hey, you know what? Maybe go get the Luis Rengifo type of third baseman. Like if Suarez, and granted didn't have a terrible series, but if Suarez is still kind of being Suarez, I would love for them to be in the position to go and get, as long as he's healthy, Rengifo. I would love that.
Yeah, the thing with me with Suarez is he has to make a drastic improvement offensively. He can't do like if he's been doing what he has, where it's like it's decent. They have to make a move because they can't rely on that. Like they need that third base position to be to give them a lot of production. And Gino's just not giving that. Like Gino would have to do like a 1 home run per series for like 6 weeks in a row for me to feel confident. Which I don't see that as happening. But we did see a debut in this game. Christian Mena made his D-backs debut in this one. Rough first inning, ladies and gentlemen. That was a rough first inning. The first 5 guys reached base, gave up back-to-back home runs to Freddie Freeman and Teoscar Hernandez. But outside of the first inning, he looked pretty good. His fastball looked very, like just moving, a lot of life on it. So I was really impressed. But yeah, you could definitely tell nerves were there for sure. So he ends up going 3 innings, 4 hits, 4 earned, 3 walks, 2 Ks. Got 10 whiffs though. In 3 innings, like to me, that's really impressive. He got 1 on each one of his pitches, at least 1. So it looks like he definitely has some variety there. Now, Gabe, I know he didn't get past the 3rd, but do you want to see him back up here in place of either Tommy Henry, Slade Ciccone, Ryan Nelson? Did you see enough in the 3 innings to like you want to see more, or was that like don't know if he's ready yet? And what stood out the most to you in his debut?
I think that if the pitching wasn't as depleted as it is because of all the injuries, he wouldn't have gotten a chance this year at all. If anything, maybe a spot starter in September or something. But he's only 21. Like he's he's really young. He shouldn't have been up this early, I think, in his career. This is kind of a no-win situation. He's like I said, he's really young. He's still developing. I don't think this helped him too much in terms of his development. But I mean, was facing literally like one of the best teams in the league against some of the best hitters in the league, against a couple Hall of Famers in his debut. And I mean, he settled down. He looked good for 2 innings. I can see why they took him out, why they didn't let him continue into the 4th. But he had a lot. He had a lot going on for him. I think. A lot of nerves. He was spraying it all over the place, especially in that 1st inning. He was still able to get the outs. He had a pretty quick 2nd inning. He looked pretty good. I think he looked decent enough that I feel confident in his abilities. Let's say come September, I feel if if it's still a black hole in that 5th spot, screw it. Bring him up. Send somebody else down, or even put him in the bullpen if needed. Because I thought his pitches had a lot of movement. He looks really good. He kind of looked like a Brandon Pfaadt, plus with some velocity out there. But I think he has a lot to work on still. And like I said, I'm sorry, I don't know what the hell my dog was doing. It's just, but yeah, I thought he looked really good. After that after that 1st inning, I thought he looked pretty good. He was able to mow these guys down and take care of business. At least give this team a fighting chance for a bit.
Yeah. I liked what I saw. I want to see him get another shot. I wouldn't mind seeing one of the like a dual pitcher outing with like him and Slade. So like have Slade go like the first 3 and then Mena go 4 through 6 kind of thing, because we know Slade's really good that first time through. So let Slade do the first time through and see how Mena does kind of that second time through. But Brett, what impressed you the most about Mena?
For me, what stood out, even when I was like going through, looking up the notes and all that, the fact that he still got 10 whiffs in his 3 innings was and again, I know whiffs aren't the most important stat, obviously, but there's still something to look at with, hey, he's getting major league hitters, especially this offense. Like Gabe said, this is still a top offense. He's getting them to, miss, like swing and miss, like actually genuinely, like they're not like with Brandon Pfaadt where his stuff is so nasty to where they're waiting for him to throw a ball and he's just dotting corners. Mena was actually getting these guys to, I think his curveball really played off with it, because he was getting, again, a lot of swing and misses. Most of it was, I believe, on his fastball and changeup. But he didn't, like, you said, Brandon, get at least 1 on every one of his pitches. I know he's still young. To me, I think it's a little of, it was unfortunate timing because his last few starts in Reno, he kind of got rocked. But from what we saw him doing in the White Sox minor league system when we traded for him, and even his first month or 2 here in Reno, to me, like, I get, again, I agree with you, Gabe. If we didn't have the injury issues that we had with our rotation, this wouldn't even be a concern. He would still be developing in AAA the entire year. We might see him next year for spring training. So it's still a little early to bring him up, but I think it's one of those. He's not like too young to where he's like raw. Still needs a lot to develop. He still has a lot of really good potential. A lot of really good. I personally like the fact that he has a 5-pitch repertoire, and the fact that he's getting whiffs on all of those is something we didn't see. We don't see from Ryan Nelson. We don't see from Tommy Henry. He can actually throw the ball pretty hard. His curveball is very favorable pitch. I think he threw it the second most out of all of it. And when he can keep it down and not hang it to Teoscar Hernandez and hitters like that, it can be a really effective pitch. We've seen him have some really high strikeout numbers. So me personally, I think Mena is going to be one of the, I don't think he's going to be like a Ryan or a Slade to where, you can get 3 innings out of him and, go to the bullpen, please. I think the fact that it was his debut, and again, they even mentioned on the broadcast, the last time somebody made their major league debut and they had to face the reigning league MVP was, I'm forgetting his name. It was some pitcher back in 2018 when Mookie Betts was still in the Red Sox when he just won the MVP. There's a lot of nerves going into it, and I think it was just a little. He was trying to kind of like, we'll get into it for Game 3. Was that Gallen in some of his fastballs? I think he might have been trying to overthrow some of his pitches. Throw it. Trying to locate instead of just throwing. I know that's a term that's very basic. It's not like I'm a pitching coach, like, big brain, try to, hey, Zach, throw the ball instead of locate. But that is something that even I, as a pitcher, sometimes in my beer league baseball games struggle with, because I'm actually trying to, I need to make this pitch go to this exact location in this exact spot. I need to have it spin off my hand and like my pinky at this exact moment where sometimes you got to throw it. You just got to throw the pitch. You got there just trusting your stuff. You got to trust it. I think he got in his head a little bit too much. But from what I saw, I think Mena is going to be a minimum number 4 in the rotation in the future. He has a really good repertoire. He's got really good stuff. And I like, again, not many people give up 4 runs and can actually go out and then shut the team down for the next, again, I know it's only 2 innings or 3 innings, but still, he bounced back in a big way. And you don't see that from a lot of young pitchers, especially at 21 years old.
No, definitely don't. We got Corbin Barrels in the chat. Corbin Barrels, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. Hopefully you'll show up sometime this season. So I really, really hope. But let's go ahead and I know it's Game 3, but we waited till Game 3 to really go into it. Christian freaking Walker, y'all. I don't have any words for what this man did. So he's had 42 career games at. Hold up, I put it in here.
These were all, I believe, before Game 3, or did you update them?
I assume that you did.
No, I'm looking them up right now. Don't worry. I'm literally as we're doing it.
Yeah. Walker Stadium, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to our producer extraordinaire, Josh, for creating that. That thing blew up today. Because it looks real. It looks real. Josh did such a good job on that. So if we just talk this season, he's had 8 games against the Dodgers, 37 plate appearances, 7. No, I'm pretty sure that's 8 now. I don't even know. It's so insane what this man did. Just first of all in this series, and then what he's done against the Dodgers. I was reading some comments from some Dodger fans on Twitter. They want them to sign him and just assign him to a new, just a non-position and just not play him so that he doesn't hurt them anymore.
So yeah, Fangraphs is not uploading. They don't have today's game stats updated with it yet. So the splits tool is not working how I wanted to. Yeah. So the stats I have in the doc are at least updated going into today's game.
So, but no. So what? So before today, it was 42 games, 45 hits, 18 home runs in 42 games. That's crazy. That's just at Dodger Stadium. That's not when they're here. I mean, he still does well against the Dodgers at Chase Field, but at Christian Walker Stadium, Chavez Ravine, Christian is unworldly.
He's just such a good father. He couldn't see his son Clayton, and he was like, if I can't see Clayton, what's the next best option? I just purchase his place of employment, and I just see him every day. What a great father!
So Christian did pull the all-timer father move, and he purchased Dodger Stadium, and it's now Christian Walker Stadium. Gabe, do you think Christian did the right thing for his son?
Yeah, this was actually something that we talked about, I think, in the last podcast. We were asking, like, who needs to step up? Like, how long can Cattell keep doing this where he's, like, the primary, I was going to say ball handler, but wrong sport. Primary, scorer, run creator. Run producer. Run producer. Christian Walker, Gurriel, Moreno, like, they all stepped up big time during this series, but especially Christian. It seemed like every time he went up to bat, you're like, he's gonna hit a home run, and when he would, you'd be like, how does this man keep doing it? Like, he can't keep getting away with this, and he kept getting away with it. They weren't walking him, they weren't doing anything until like towards the end.
Did y'all see Torrey's face right there? Like,
he's just laughing. He's like, what do you do? And they had a shot of Dave Roberts just like sitting there, like twiddling his thumbs, just being like,
I think it's on this
all
one,
right.
actually.
No, it's on the 2-run or the next one, I believe. It was definitely a second one, yeah.
But either way, he just completely annihilated and destroyed the Dodgers' morale. Like, the Dodger fans were just dying inside and outside, apparently. Like, he was just incredible this whole series. Like, this is the house that Walker built, because this is no longer Dodger Stadium at Chavez Ravine. This is Christian Walker Stadium at Christian Walker Ravine. Like, he completely owns them and that place.
Dude, no, you're not even kidding. So I'm looking up Walker's game logs. Walker ended the series against the Oakland Athletics with a 330 on base and a 472 slugging. His slugging after tonight's game is now up to 345 and 526. He's added
slugging?
His slugging went from 472. His slugging went from 472 to 526 in 3 games.
50 points, basically.
5 home runs and a double will do that for you.
Wow. Christian Walker really deserves to be in the All-Star game. And now that we're into the part where it's the reserves voted by coaches and players, I feel a lot more confident because fans aren't involved. And we won't see certain fan bases flood these inboxes, aka Philly fans, with Johan Rojas in the top 10 for outfielders. Blew my mind. I'm like, this man won't even make the AAA All-Star team. Like, I know MLB wants the fans involved with it, but it needs to be like 25% of the vote. Like, because you'll see there'll probably be some guys that were in like the top 5, top 3, or top 4, and fans will be like, why aren't they in the All-Star game? Because they weren't deserving of it. Like, first base is always so hard in the National League. I'm curious because Bryce Harper won for first base. He's injured right now, but I don't know how long he's out. So would he play in the All-Star game? And then at that point, I think it's between Christian Walker and Freddie Freeman. Yet Christian has more slugging, more homers, but Freddie has a higher batting average and a higher OPS. So if they just go with those two, I'd be fine with it because I think Christian deserves it 100%. The man has 22 home runs. Come on. Like, he's been so amazing. So
you're an all-star candidate and should be an all-star game player when you got, the Fireside Yankees whipping up let's trade 3 no-name fucks for this guy right here, because he's going to be the perfect perfect player. So you know you're an all-star when you got shit like that happening.
That's the problem I have with certain fan bases is they think because they're so big and prominent, they can trade for anyone and just give like nobodies. I mean, that's not how it works. Like you may not know this, but these teams know who these teams' best prospects are. That's why they get paid millions of dollars. So I I would love to hear that conversation if Mike Hazen got that call. He would hang up that phone so fast. So it
I'm
was
pretty sure he probably just has Brian Cashman. I'm pretty sure most teams just have Brian Cashman blocked. Just be like, no, sorry, don't even call me.
But moving on to our next topic. Zach Gallen started this game. You know what, Gabe? Why don't you just take the floor?
Yeah, so as great as Zach Gallen looked in a lot of ways, pumping 98 miles an hour, like he had a lot of movement on his curveballs. He looked fantastic overall, really. Like it was just a very, very strange game where he was just like getting fouled off a lot. They're making a lot of contact with him. Simultaneously, he was just striking guys out and making them look kind of silly. And I think we have an answer for that. And it was something that we mentioned in the last podcast about Zach Gallen, which was that he might have been tipping his pitches since coming back. And we mentioned, he was facing DAs, so DAs probably weren't ready to see him in that sort of way. They probably didn't have enough game tape on him tipping. And they're also not going to be as good as taking advantage of his pitch tipping. So, Brandon, if you have the either one, I know which one they are at this point. So I believe this is his fastball. When he's been throwing his fastball, he threw it to Freddie Freeman. He did strike him out. He did throw a 98. His leg is way up high. It's over his waist. It's a lot closer to his own glove. His hand. It's very, very high up. And if you have the other one,
It's curveball.
This is like the maximum extension of his leg. He doesn't go any higher than this. This is a curveball. His leg is almost straight. It's almost straight down even. So it's completely facing the other way. Like you're talking about a completely different angle. And like I said, the last game, I noticed this. So I would assume the 27 people that they have in the Dodgers front office probably noticed this too. And so they're ready for it. And so that's why if you see, I mean, Gallen was just had nasty enough stuff that he could get away with it for the most part. But when you know fastball is coming, you know you can lay off. If you know a curveball is coming, you know you can lay off or hit it. It just depends on what you did. In this case, Kike, I believe he did get a hit, and I think that's when the run scored.
Yep. It was funny. I was watching that, and then so for me, what I noticed on this was kind of what he does with his leg. Yes, he brings it up very high, but he kind of curves his foot too. Like his leg's so high that his foot kind of curves.
It's like his knee goes back to his pitching side instead of like kind of staying even with him as he's like going through his delivery.
Yeah.
And as soon as that happened on the 2-run single, I'm like, I saw him. All right, so it's a fastball. Hernandez gets a line drive to center. They score 2. And what's interesting, same thing happened when he struck out Shohei. But I think Shohei either didn't know or Zach got lucky.
Yeah, I think
he didn't have his interpreter there, so he couldn't actually, Ippei wasn't there to be like, so we're going to make you bet on a fastball because we know what pitch is coming.
Yeah, but I mean, even on that one, you can see Shohei didn't react to it like the way he normally would. He literally looked at the fastball and he like tracked it the whole way. And so I wonder if in his mind he was like trying to confirm with himself that high leg kick was going to be a fastball. But Torrey took him out in time where he didn't have to face Shohei again because he was at 85 pitches. He's on a pitch limit and he labored through a lot of this game. But I think maybe that's what it was. It was just he was tipping. Like whether the Dodgers saw it or not, he was tipping. And like I said, I am just, some blog boy on YouTube. Like how am I noticing? Like, if I'm noticing it, then the Dodgers are noticing it. Like, they have 27 guys in their front office that they pay millions of dollars to notice this sort of stuff. So hopefully they can watch some of the game tape and he can work with Strame to fix that, because it seems like when he throws his curveballs, he does a quick pitch, so he's not lifting his leg up as high, and which would also explain why there was 3 steals on him today, right?
Mhm.
One
That doesn't really
Austin
happen.
Barnes too.
Yeah, it's a
Like
double
what
steal,
the fuck?
then yeah, and it's just, if they know what's coming because of his high leg kick, then it's a lot easier to steal. You're thinking like, okay, this is gonna be a curveball, it's gonna be a fastball. You know when to take off, and also Gallon's a little slow sometimes, especially with this fastball. He's a little bit slower because again, he's doing the full high leg kick with his slider and his curveball. He's doing a lot slow, a lot lower leg kick, and a lot quicker. He's doing a quick pitch with his off speed. He's taking a little longer with this fastball. So something to keep in mind. Hopefully the D-backs can fix those issues and we can see 98-mile-per-hour Gallon more consistently getting outs with that, going 7 or 8 innings, because we might have, a Zach Wheeler on this team like right now. Like, as great as Zach is, if we have Zach Wheeler on this team, especially coming into the later part of this season, like, watch out. Like, I think we might be back.
Yeah. We need like top notch Zach Allen if we want to make that push. So I really hope so. He threw a lot of four seamers today. He was spraying it all over the place though.
Very minimal. Like Brandon, if you want to put that graphic back up, one of the things, like even just like now looking at it, I don't know if it even again like the leg kick thing. At least personally, like for me in like sports, whenever or baseball, whenever I would try to get those extra, I'm gonna blow it by this guy with my 77-mile-an-hour fastball. I would go there try to get like a higher leg kick because I felt like I got more, power and more pressure going in on my plant leg. So it kind of makes me wonder, like, I don't think it's fully the leg kick and the having it go higher, whatever momentum he's getting, which is getting him the 3 extra miles an hour on his fastball, which I feel like we definitely got to like just highlight still. That's insane. He was still at 85 pitches, touching 97, almost 98 on his fastball. Like I'm a dirty man for that kind of stuff right there. But it makes me wonder, like, there's a lot of fastballs in the middle of the plate and upper right there where he's usually the kind of guy where he's keeping his fastball tunneling off of his changeup at the knees, like the kind of the middle part. Even sometimes, obviously, you don't want to spike a fastball, but keeping his fastball somewhat lower in the zone. And we didn't see that much. Like, it seemed like there's maybe like less than 10 fastballs that were middle of the zone and below. And it makes me wonder, was that the game plan? Was that maybe he was just worrying too much on velocity? I mean, again, I like Zach Gallen with extra velocity if he can touch 98, but I believe there's somebody that even replied to one of our Twitter posts where there's like a little league where it's like, I don't care how hard you throw ball for. And there's a few times where I was like, I feel like a boomer just kind of even thinking that, but like, hey, Zach, like, I would rather have you back to your 95, even 96 dotting on the corners than you trying to throw 97 by, like, I get it's the A's. If it's the A's and like they're probably not expecting it, but you got to have precision when you're going up against a team in a lineup like the Dodgers. Like, as you saw in this game, 3 walks. They will, even Chris Taylor, they will work you to death. There was multiple at bats that he was going 5, 6+ pitches in because he just did not get really much swing and miss in general. And I don't know, again, if that's just maybe he's one of the few cases where the extra increase in velocity is a bad thing for him. I don't think so. I think it'll probably help him. I don't know. I think he needs to try to find that middle ground of extra velocity while still making sure his mechanics are in a line. So, some blog boys over here, like, Gabe isn't out here just like for the second week in a row picking something up and is like, what are we doing here, man? I'm not getting paid money, like getting paid by the team to pick this shit up. Like, somebody should be making these corrections. That's not Gabe. No offense to Gabe at all, obviously. Like, that's not what I was trying to do. I'm just saying, like, the fact that, like, again, like, the fans are noticing these things, there's got to be coaches noticing these kind of things.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they didn't pick it up in his last start because it was. I think Gabe, you said you really only noticed it in that final inning, but he definitely did it throughout this entire start. So I'm
Yeah,
hoping when they go through the film study with this one that they find it.
I just haven't had time to break it down from the A start, but from the few clips I was able to see, that's what I saw. Specifically, is when he got certain strikeouts and he got hit, or the one hit or whatever. Like you can see what was coming. That's what I was saying. Like it's the A's. It's a total different team from the Dodgers, but um, we probably could or should break down the entire start. But I noticed it a lot in this game. Like I was noticing his leg, and I was right every time. So I'm like, if I'm right, then the Dodgers are right too.
Yeah. So, but no, we end up winning the series. So we had 2 series at Dodger Stadium this year. We won both of them. That's huge. That is really big. We only play them one more time. It's at Chase Field over Labor Day. So good there. And like we discussed on our last episode, these next 2 weeks of games were very important. They started off very well. They went 2-1. If they can do that with all 4 series, I know for me, it's going to give me confidence that at the All-Star break, either at 500 or should be over 500. I believe now we're 1 game under. We start a series with the Padres tomorrow in San Diego. I'm hoping Christian can just take.
You're not going
this.
to be there, right? You're not going to be there jinxing this for.
Nope, I am not going to be there. I'm going to be at home. Shout out to my coworker Fernando. Thanks for stopping by. We appreciate it. Yes, very good series win. It's always great. For me, it doesn't matter the sport. Anytime that my team beats a team from LA, I'm in a good mood. So yeah, this next series I think is just as big as well because it's a divisional. It's a team that's right above us in the wild card standing. I want them to take 2 or 3. If they can take 2 or 3, it's going to be huge. Just please don't have a blowout like you did last time you were in San Diego. So probables are Slade Ciccone, Ryan Vasquez, Brennan Fott versus Matt Waldron. So that one should be pretty interesting. And then Sunday is Ryan Nelson versus Dylan Cease. It's on Roku, ladies and gentlemen.
Ooh, free. Hey, I got a Roku TV. Let's go.
So,
hey, the Roku broadcasts are much better than Apple, so I'm actually pretty excited about that. I'm not going to lie.
So Apple looks great. I will never dispute that. Everything else, not really a fan. So I'm hoping to take 2 or 3. Gabe, what do you want to see out of this series with the Padres?
It's the same thing. I want them to get at 500 or hopefully over 500. They just got to get closer in terms of the wild card and against the division because the Dodgers are facing the Phillies, who are on a really good run right now. So if they're able to sweep, and even if the D-backs are able to sweep or take a couple from San Diego, again, it puts them in a lot better position for the division and for the wild card standings. Like we need to make up a lot of ground, and we still have a little bit less than half the season left to do it. And with this game, these last 2 games were any indication, this team has a lot of firepower, a lot of fighting spirit in it still, especially with their guys coming back. Like we'll see, because San Diego actually has real starting pitchers. The Dodgers have a lot of guys that they're just kind of trotting out there, hoping that they can get a couple innings out of them. So I'm very interested to see what this new offense is going to look like against a team like San Diego.
Brett, just a few thoughts on the Padres series.
Yeah, say the kind of with Gabe, I wouldn't say I don't know if they're fully like better than the Dodgers. Like even they probably would be, but it's misleading. Like you might hear a name, you're like, oh, Waldron, the knuckleballer that we beat up that one time. He's got a better ERA than Brandon Pfaadt. He's got more wins and one more loss. So like if you're just going off paper numbers, he's been better than Pfaadt. So kind of don't fully just go off of the what you're seeing on paper. this could be a series. This genuinely, I don't know what we're going to see out of the series. Like, I don't know what we're going to see. Slade Ciccone, Ryan Nelson are really good on the road, but they do have their blow up starts. Brandon Pfaadt still has some of his issues with his blow up innings, especially with some of the days when he does pitch, the offense doesn't show up. So I think, kind of like you're saying, this entire 2 weeks is going to be huge. If we can just go 2-1 this series, especially, that'll be a major win in my book.
Be super important. So I believe if we win these win 2 or 3, we will be over 500. I believe we haven't been at 500.
We'll be at 500.
We haven't been at 500
since the Phillies.
Since the last time we won a game down by 2+, not counting Saturday. April 16th. That was the last time. We were 9-9 when we beat the Cubs that day.
Didn't we get to 500 against the Phillies? Yeah, we got to 500 against the Phillies,
did.
I believe.
We got a 500.
Yeah, and then it was game 1, we got to 500, and then we immediately lost the next 2, I believe. But I mean, still though, like we're now 2 and 39 when we're 2 runs or more down.
I thought that one was the first game we got to 1 game, and then we were gonna be over 500.
No, I believe that was the big thing at the time where their series game or game 1 of the series streak was still on. They were a game from 500.
But still,
against
we
a good
went
team.
2 months. We went 2 months in between being at 500. Like, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, that's outrageous.
No, exactly, yeah.
So it just feels like, because the team will play really, really well for 2 or 3, and then they'll play bad for 2. Like, it just feels like we can't get over that hump of 500. Like, we're right there. I need Gurriel to continue to play well like he has been. I need Walker to keep doing what he's doing, and just Marte just keep doing what you've done all season.
I mean, I'm pretty confident.
Show up. Just show up is all I need.
I think again, I know it's only a 3-game series, and Alec only played in 2 of them. But dude, if we can balance out, there was a bunch of jokes even made in the Discord, or one of the Discords I'm in, with Jake McCarthy having the night that he had in game 2 with, throwing the runner out at home, having a really good series at the plate. And people are like, oh my God, like he's deserved starting time. I'm like, you're right. And guess what his reward is? He's going to sit game 3, and he sat game 3. So we can find the good balance of like him. And like, again, I love him, but I think maybe you got to try to find, again, just when there's a lefty in there, Corbin doesn't start. Jake's got to start. There's not going to be any lefties this series, so thankfully we don't have to deal with that. But if we can just get like the offense to continue what we're doing, like with Alec, Gabby, like Gabby this series was fantastic. Like, I don't know if it's just the being back from the thumb, maybe that was like an issue. Like, he's driving the ball more. Like, the series alone, he was going opposite, even in his flyouts in today's game, center field against the Dodgers, hit it to the warning track. He's hitting the ball with a lot more power. Alec Thomas so far isn't doing the normal rolling over on a ground ball to the second baseman. He's having some pretty good at-bats. Perdomo's still doing his normal Perdomo thing, like you were talking about in the show earlier, Brandon, about, he has like 4 or 5 pitches per at-bat, it seems like. This team's, we're starting to see even every day now, we're getting, when the lineups come out, is starting to feel like, man, this is like the opening day lineup we kind of expected to see. And we're seeing it for the 15th time total?
It's crazy.
In games 85?
Yeah, it's just crazy. So congratulations there on the team getting that series win. Congratulations to Ketel Marte for being voted in as the starting second baseman. Very excited. I love beating the Dodgers. Always puts me in a great mood. Gabe, any parting thoughts for the pod today?
Yeah, I have a quick take back. The Dodgers are playing the Brewers, I think, not the Phillies. But I just want to give a quick shout out to Vieira, because he pitched 2 innings against the Dodgers. He got 3 strikeouts. He looked very good, very confident in the mound. And he's definitely somebody that you want in these sort of situations where he's not a high leverage guy. He's never been a high leverage guy. But if you want a guy who's going to go into the ninth, 1, 2, 3, get the outs as quick as possible, that's who it is. Like, I love the way he looks on the mound. He's like weirdly dominant in those situations, and he has so much passion. Like these last 2 times where he gets the out, he's like pumping his chest and yelling and everything. And
Well,
that's
of
something
course,
I
it's
love.
our World Series,
Yeah,
according
it's
to
our World
Ricky.
Series now. So I'm really happy to see stuff like that, especially from like a journeyman reliever like he is. Like he seems to have found a spot here for the time being. Like I know we've talked about Miguel Castro maybe coming back. So there's a couple other guys I think we could send down like Sam McGuff, but it's just I really liked how he's looked so far. He has some pretty nasty stuff. So if he's able to get under control, hit his spots, he's gonna be really nasty for this team.
Yeah, he looked really good. Just want to give a shout out to Justin Martinez for the bounce back he did after giving up a big time home run in a high leverage moment to Shohei Ohtani. He comes back today, goes 3 innings, gives up 2 hits, 5 Ks, no earned runs. He looked really good. Y'all, this man to my right, your left is going to be so annoying. So y'all better be prepared. He does it with Brandon Pfaadt. He's going to do it with Justin Martinez. So, speaking of Brett, any parting thoughts?
It was a great series. The fact that we were able to fight this entire time, like all games. Again, I know it should have been a sweep, but there's a lot of positive looking back on it. But also, happy 4th to everybody listening. Appreciate everybody coming in, obviously. And thank you for all the engagement on social media. It's been very fun, like all of it. Especially this series when we're facing a divisional rival. You guys were showing a lot of love, showing out, especially
divisional foe. They're not
divisional
rivals.
foe. Sorry, I mean, okay, I don't know, man. These games felt like Dodger fans won't admit it, and maybe we're the little brother for admitting it. Every single one of these games felt like, and again, maybe it's it's us in our World Series, no, thanks, Mookie. But like Dave Roberts was kind of managing that like it was a playoff game. You're bringing in Anthony Bonda to face Corbin Carroll in the 4th or 5th inning. Like, okay, yeah, that's kind of a playoff move. It's, I don't know, like this series was a big series, and I think this is a really big momentum swing that they will hopefully use for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so very excited. Everyone, thanks for tuning in to us here on YouTube. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to check us out on all audio podcasts. Make sure to go ahead and check out azsnakepit.com. They do some fantastic articles. They have a great game day thread that's fun to be in during the game. They do recap articles. They do preview.
And with the draft coming up, there's a lot of prospect and draft articles out. So make sure you're tuned into that.
Yes, they do some really great stuff over there. We are glad to be part of the team over there. We will see you on Sunday.